still continue to this day. That's why in Israel, as of the 1980s, the Supreme Court, which has a symbol from Egypt on top of the building, it said if you're a Messianic Jew, if you're a Jew for Jesus, you cannot come back. But if you're a Kabbalist, or if you're someone that only believes in the Torah and the Old Testament, you are welcome. So these are Jews that rejected Christ. These are the builders, the Pharisees. Sun worship goes all the way back to Sodom and Gomorrah, as well as before the flood. So the knowledge was passed down from the angels, the watchers, but we can see it both before the flood and after the flood. I'll show you that it was practiced in Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know the word Sodom comes from the word sodomy. Does that mean that some people who practice sun worship are sodomites? Yes. Does that mean that they're necessarily the leadership in Israel? Some of them. Deuteronomy 32:28-32. For their rock is not like our rock. Who's the rock of the church? Christ. That's right, the one that the builders rejected. So in Sodom and Gomorrah, we see, for their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies concede. But their vine is from the vine of Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Okay, so we've got two rocks and two vines. So that means Sodom and Gomorrah has a false Christ. It's being compared to the same language that we use as a Christian to follow Christ. If the rock is Christ and the vine is Christ, well, Sodom and Gomorrah has a counterfeit. And we know in the book of Matthew, Christ said, when the apostles asked him, or the disciples asked him, how will we know it's the sign of your coming, Jesus? And what did he say immediately after that? Be careful that no one deceives you. What? I don't get it. Why would you be coming back and then we ask you and you say, be careful no one deceives you? Because you will know when I am coming back, when people are trying to pretend to be me. When they try to take the Bible and symbolically misrepresent it so you go in a different direction, you'll know I'm coming soon. So we have a counterfeit rock and a counterfeit vine, and we know it came from Sodom and Gomorrah. Who lived in Sodom and Gomorrah? We know that Lot did. Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham, he lived in Sodom, and his sons continued in the worship of the sun and moon. Really? Where do we get that in the Bible? I'll show you. Lot had two children, and it was interesting how he had these two children. If you remember, Abraham had a talk with God. It was in Genesis 18, I believe. It was at the Oaks of Mamre. And when he was speaking to the Lord, he said, so your angels are going down to fulfill your order and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because it's so wicked. But my nephew Lot lives in Sodom and Gomorrah. If there is someone who is righteous in Sodom and Gomorrah, can the town be spared? And so, of course, there was negotiation between the Lord and Abraham. And eventually it gets to the point where Abraham realizes by the 10 Commandments, there is not one person living in Sodom and Gomorrah that should be spared. So he just pleaded with God and said, can you just spare Lot? He's my nephew. And so that's what the Lord agreed to do. But with Lot continued this same religion that we saw in Sodom and Gomorrah through his sons. And I'll show you. Genesis 19:34-38. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, look, I slept with my father last night. Let us get him drunk with wine again tonight so you can go and sleep with him and we can preserve our father's line. If you remember in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the wife was told, so the whole family was told, don't look back. Once you leave the city, don't look back. What did the wife of Lot do? She didn't listen. She looked back. What happened? She turned into a pillar of salt. So how does Lot continue a bloodline when all he has is daughters?